This is Andy Reid, and you're on Alchemicast. This is episode 1 of hopefully what will be a long and easy to understand and watch series right here on Alchemical Records. My name is Andy Reid, and I'm the host of Alchemicast. With me today, I'm going to have Jamie Kaye. She's a musician in the DMV area, and she's going to come on the show and talk to us a little bit about what COVID is like for a musician in the area. As a musician myself, I've been producing music out of my basement and learning new and interesting skills, things I haven't normally done before. And, kind of just messing around because, that's what music is all about. Just experimenting and trying to push the envelope a little bit. It looks like we have our guest. Jamie, you're live on the show. Hello, can you hear and see me?
Hi. I think I'm not hearing you. Hold on. I think that's my fault.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Awesome. Welcome to Alchemicast, I guess. This is our first episode. It's good to meet you virtually.
Yeah, good to meet you too virtually.
How's it going? How are you?
I'm good. I'm really tired. So I'm just I had too much caffeine and then it made me super jittery. So now I'm just kind of in that weird state.
What number cup of coffee are you on right now?
I've had one giant cup of coffee, and then I also have this stuff, which is rocket fuel.
Oh, is that some product placement?
I wish. I should get a sponsorship because I totally drink it every day, pretty much every morning.
Well, so Jamie, you're a musician that was born in the Potomac, Maryland area, and you've been a musician, since you were 7 in a family band? Was that right?
Yeah, actually. So I grew up in Potomac, Maryland, and I kind of started singing with my family band called Radio King Orchestra, and it's a swing band, and that made me catch the bug because, I was basically thrown into it forcefully. But now I do it totally willingly, and I love it. But then I started kind of doing my own thing around my teenage years, and I used to do these songwriter series events through Songwriters Association of Washington. And we used to do stuff at coffee shops and stuff like that, that are appropriate for teenagers. And then it grew to bars after that.
What was your first instrument?
I started on piano. So that's a little bit easier on the little baby fingers.
Yeah.
I tried guitar. My dad used to play guitar, and so I would try to push down the strings, and it wasn't happening.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I'm a drummer first and foremost, but I learned on piano. My mom was classically trained, and I kind of just watched her, and I was like, "How do you do that?" And she's like, "Watch, I'll show you." It's a lot of breathing.
It was that easy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how are you holding up amidst COVID? What's been going on? How is your daily life going?
Well, I think I'm just trying to make the best out of it, kind of just like everybody else is. We all have different ways of adapting to this huge change in our world. And I think for me, when I lost my entire schedule, I didn't really take it very well. So I just, to be honest with you, I was horribly depressed. And I just didn't have any hope for the future. And, it was a very scary time. We had no idea what was going to happen. So I just kind of looked to what everybody else was doing, which was, the live streaming, and something about it just felt totally inauthentic for some reason. And I'm not saying at all that it's not perfectly fine for other people to do the live streaming thing. But I just realized that the reason that I love performing is sharing that energy with people in a room, that live experience where you're playing off the energy of the crowd. And so I couldn't do it with the hole in the phone and trying not to look at myself. It's just a whole weird battle for me. So So instead, I just kind of tried to dive a little bit deeper into my songwriting.
Nice.
So now I've got just like tons of material I'm sitting on, and it's really exciting. And I've really done my best writing, I think, in this time.
What are you writing about? What is your main focus in your songwriting?
I've written about all sorts of stuff. I don't know. I draw from personal experience, but also from, I'm an actress as well. So I like to make up my own stories and different personas for, the people that might be singing from that perspective. So it's very non-specific. I'm actually writing a screenplay as well. That's going to be a musical. So I'm doing all sorts of stuff with my writing right now.
You're writing a screenplay. Have you written a screenplay before?
No, I've never done that before. So it's totally uncharted territory. But my mom's actually a writer, like a playwright. So I'm not unfamiliar with how, it all works. But it's my first go, for sure.
Wow, you got good creative genes. I was going to ask, are you learning anything new during quarantine? It sounds like screenplay writing is something new. That's a new talent.
Oh yeah, no, I totally, I'm learning a lot, like a lot, both skill-based and, within myself. I think due to just the pure nature of isolation, I was forced to kind of address some internal issues and do some like self-learning as well. So I think that, and I'll preface this with, I think that goal setting is super duper important and everybody should do it and everybody should focus on it and take steps to do it. But I think pre-quarantine, I was like way too focused on, getting that goal and not appreciating the steps that it takes to get there.
Right.
So now I feel like after kind of doing that work on myself, I have learned to appreciate every single day and those little victories that you have throughout your day, rather than beating yourself up every day that you're not at that goal that you set for yourself.
Yep. Jamie, I think you understand more than anyone I've talked to recently. I think you understand. When it comes to being a musician during such a crazy time, what are some things you're doing to stay present? And then as Jamie Kaye, what are you doing to stay present?
Good question. It's hard right now to stay connected with people because, clearly, as we're doing right now, we can't be in the same room doing this interview. So it's a very difficult way that you have to kind of figure out how to connect with other humans. So I started kind of using my Instagram as a platform to share my honest experience juggling a career in music and my physical and mental health issues. And it's been a little bit difficult for me in the past to keep up my Instagram and social media just because I don't spend a whole lot of time on my phone. So turning kind of to this focal point was a great way to challenge myself to turn something that's so necessary for us as artists right now into something that's genuine to myself.
Yeah. So when you were about to go into quarantine, what were some of the feelings that you were noticing around that time?
When we were going into quarantine?
Yeah.
Well, pre-quarantine, I was a very, very, very busy career musician. So I'm in several, I'm in a couple wedding bands, and I do a lot of work as an artist. So I was going from having 5-6 gigs a week to that kind of like tidal wave imagery of like, oh my gosh, what is this that's about to happen? It was super, super scary. And that was definitely the feeling of all the other friends that I have and all the coworkers that I work with in music, where we're just staring up at this giant tidal wave that is COVID, and wondering what's going to happen to our schedules. So I was sitting there with a full, ready to go wedding season, and it was really exciting, and we were all ready for it. But it was totally wiped by that tidal wave. Yeah. So that feeling was very, very terrifying for a lot of us.
Wow. And I know that you, as well as some of the wedding and session projects you do, you have a duo, Dead Like Disco. What can you tell us about that?
So Dead Like Disco came from writing with my my writing partner, Bryan Kotsher. And we were working on my solo project for Jamie Kaye, and started writing some material together for my project and realized that we worked really, really well together. So Dead Like Disco, at first I thought was going to be super different from my Jamie Kaye project, but it actually turns out that we have a lot of crossover with genre. So our project is kind of going to be a little bit more experimental, I would say, than Jamie Kaye. So we dip into many different genres. Both of us come from pop punk backgrounds, so there's going to be a little bit of pop punk in there, and there's a little bit of, you know, emotional electronic stuff in there. But we are trying this new thing where we don't stick ourselves to a genre.
Yeah.
So we're just going to try to, you know, do what feels best at the time and just keep writing, because both of us are writers, obviously. So we don't want to limit ourselves or pigeonhole ourselves at all into a certain genre. And so we're actually also working on writing for other artists currently. So I can't really say who right now yet, but we're doing some really fun work for a couple bands.
Very cool. Right on. Yeah. You guys did a cover of Yellow by Coldplay, which is on YouTube, and is it on Facebook as well?
It's all over the place. Yeah, you can find it on my Facebook, Jamie Kaye, and you can find it on our Instagram, on our YouTube channel. Got some stuff going on TikTok now. Just started that.
You're a TikToker. Okay. Yeah. So my girlfriend.
I wouldn't consider myself a TikToker quite. Yeah, I don't have like all the moves down quite yet for the, I don't know. Doing it right?
Yep. I've been looking over her shoulder and admiring what TikTok is. It's a great source of information, and it really is bringing people together. What are some things you're noticing on TikTok? Maybe you could tell us some things you've seen today or lately.
Oh my goodness. Well, I think that both Bryan and I are like 67 years old on the inside. Whereas we look, you know, very young and hip on the outside. It's totally a lie. Like inside, I am like, you know, 67 years old, as I said.
With blue hair still.
With the blue hair. So we're just kind of trying to figure out how to use it, just like pretty much everybody else in the millennial generation, I think. But what I'm noticing, at least about what, you know, other artists are doing, is it's a great platform to be able to, you know, give little clips and snippets of your new music that you're going to be releasing, and kind of use it as an avenue to direct people to your main pages. So like directing them towards your Instagram or directing them towards your YouTube channel. So we're kind of going to use it as a way to express our personality. It's a little bit more informal of a social platform than Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all those. So I feel like it's a really cool way to showcase like our goofiness and, you know, our craziness. So we're going to start trying to do that a little bit more, and be a little bit more authentic with it, because I have trouble getting onto TikTok and, you know, doing a TikTok dance, because that's just not who I am, or like, you know, doing something that's not authentic to myself. So we're just going to try to use it as a, you know, here's what we do in the studio, or here's a clip of, you know, us working on this song or whatever.
Yeah. And when you say working on a song, what does your process look like? And whether that's you as an individual or you working with some of the bandmates or session work you've been doing?
As far as songwriting?
Yeah.
So generally when, you know, Bryan and I are writing together, especially for Dead Like Disco, it's been probably one of the most like spiritual experiences that I've ever had with songwriting. I've always felt when I'm writing a song that it just kind of comes out. And I know that sounds like kind of weird, but like I hate trying really hard to write a song, because then it just doesn't, you know, come out as good as when it just flows out. So interestingly enough, we're on a very similar energy vibe or something, you know, and we I would maybe come up with an idea for some lyrics and some melodies, and I would bring it to him, and I'm, tapping it out, and, hey, here's what it sounds like. Cause I'm not very good at instruments, but I'm tapping it out and kind of describing, here's where this comes in, here's where that comes in. And instantly he knows. So he gets on, he's a great producer. He gets on his computer and starts like booping in all the elements that I was, I was telling him, that I'm hearing. And then his input comes in, and we're mean to each other. We're mean to each other. So like, I might come up with a lyric and he's like, that's not the one, that's stupid. Or like, I'll say, that's stupid, but that line of communication's open and it's never offensive, but we're very blunt. And I think that we work very well together, and it's pretty much 50-50 as far as our songwriting is concerned.
Mm. And so who brought up the idea of covering Coldplay? Was that you or was that him?
It was me. It was one of those like kind of Instagram pop-up ad things for Cover Nation that came up, and we had like 3 days to get it in. So I came in, and Bryan and I write together about 3 times a week, on average. So I'm coming up and getting into the studio with him, and we write a lot. So it was really easy for us to, I kind of threw it on him. I was like, hey, you willing to do this in 3 days? And he was like, I guess. And so we both, know the song very well. And so, we got in there, we recorded, we laid down like what we thought was going to be our style and our version and our vibe. Like we really were focused on vibe for the particular cover. Because there's a lot of people out there who just verbatim did the cover itself, exactly the way the recording is. And so we wanted to stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're like, let's make it unique, and laid down some synthy stuff, really created that vibe. And then it all just kind of flowed out from there. We laid the vocals down on top of that. And then immediately started shooting the video. And we did this all on just iPhone, which is hilarious. Because I had several people hit me up and be like, what kind of camera were you guys using? Like, what aperture and all this. And I was like, it was an iPhone. I have to be honest. And I edited it on my computer. And this all happened. We had like no sleep in the 3 days that we made it, but it was really cool.
Wow. Yeah. So it sounds like you're successful with your videos, with your vocals. And as an individual, you also live with some difficulties. You told me that you were diagnosed in 2018 with adult onset. How do you pronounce this?
Hypothyroidism.
Can you tell us a little bit about what this is?
Sure. So without getting like super scientific about it, the abbreviation is HPP. It's a genetic mutation that affects my bones, and it causes tons of bone and muscle pain. And I got really lucky because I won the rare disease lottery and also got hypermobility Ehlers-Danlos syndrome as well. And that abbreviation is HEDS, which basically means my body makes connective tissue wrong. So connective tissue is like what holds your joints together. It's found in your organs, it's found in your skin. And instead of being, stable and holding my joints together, it's very stretchy and unstable. And so that causes me to be very hypermobile. And that just means my joints extend past the normal range of motion, and that makes them go in and out several times a day, especially like in my sleep, which is really painful. And so the muscle pain from that really comes from them just trying to work really hard to hold my joints together all day long. And that makes them really exhausted, and that makes me really exhausted, and hence the coffee, hence the energy drinks all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be really difficult. How has this impacted your music? I'm sure that is something that keeps you going every day.
Oh yeah, no. I get what's called flare-ups. So these are times when the condition is a lot worse. And this can span anywhere from like a day, 2 days to like 3 weeks, which I just had one that was really bad. And that just is heightened symptoms. So basically, right now with music, as this kind of starts to worsen, because it does worsen as you get older, I've had a lot of difficulty with it in the past 2 years affecting my music. So about 2 years ago, around the time of my diagnosis, I decided to, totally turn my thinking around, because I used to totally let it defeat me. I would cancel shows. I would get so mentally shut down that I would, ignore my friends, ignore my bandmates. And it was a really unhealthy way of thinking and operating. So when I got that diagnosis, it was very illuminating, and I was able to kind of put a name to what was happening to me. And that really mentally allowed me to start thinking a lot more positively. Previously, I thought that it was something that I should hide, and I shouldn't tell my bandmates. I shouldn't tell people out there, because I was afraid, since it's something that you can't see, that you physically can't tell that I have, this problem. There's, I look like a normal person, that they wouldn't believe the kind of struggle that I was going through. But that couldn't have been more opposite, because when I told my bandmates, and when I told, the people that I work with in, day to day, they're really understanding. And so now when I have a show, my bandmates are so understanding. I'm like, hey guys, like in the middle of a flare up, can you, just be aware of that and help me out here and there? And they're like, of course, anything you need, kind of thing. So, so I've decided at this point that, that I would never, ever again trade my passion for pain, because it's just too important. And I'm just going to always get up on stage no matter what, because it represents more than just the physically getting up on stage part. It's the act of getting up there and not letting my pain define me and defeat me that that really makes a difference.
Yep, that's what it's all about. Yeah, you have the right attitude. And I think you're probably one of the strongest people I've seen.
Aw, thank you.
In your opinion, what is the power of music? What can we as musicians do for the rest of the world right now in such a trying time?
Oof. Music is one of the most, I feel like, powerful things that humans and just kind of like nature can produce for this planet. And I think that it's fascinating that it's everywhere without people even realizing it. Like, it's in nature, it's in our culture's history, war, celebration, heartbreak and love. And it's, it's a huge part of our culture and a huge part of being human. And I think that right now, as far as like, if you're wondering how people can support music right now, it's really important to us that you maybe click on that live stream that your friend's doing. I know you've probably seen it on your page. Musicians are doing their best to provide a live experience for you. And they're doing so virtually, and actually now we're back in bars and restaurants a little bit. So giving that support, watching for a few minutes, maybe like, throwing a few bones to that musician on, their virtual tip jar or their actual tip jar is super duper helpful, because I think in this time now more than ever, it's really important to keep that music alive. And showing your support in every little way possible is going to be what makes that musician keep going and not stop and feel like they're supported.
100%. Yeah. And, something that we can maybe do for each other is by word of mouth, talk about music and try to encourage musicians to get out there and start playing again. I know when COVID hit, I just wanted to write. I really wanted to just stay in and kind of formulate maybe the next album or produce some cool hip hop beat and then add some layers to it. And, suddenly I'm like Googling a bunch of stuff. Now, moving forward, as we start to go back into bars and venues, what do you think the future looks like for the music scene?
Oh my goodness. It's hard to tell, to be honest. Like, it's really hard to tell at this point what the future looks like. What is certain right now is that some of our favorite venues in the area are struggling. So I think that right now the best that we can do is support those venues in any way that we can, so that when we do have a future of, you know, getting back to live performance, that they're there for us. So, you know, there's plenty of efforts out there right now to work towards saving the stages.
Yeah.
So there's actually
Save our stages.
Save our stages bill.
Right.
And so something that people out there can do is, you know, contact your local legislator and just say, hey, I want the Save Our Stages Act to happen. And that's going to be something that's really, really helpful. And there's efforts all over the place that you can look into, that major artists are actually contributing to. Even, you know, they're holding concerts virtually. They're holding concerts socially distanced outdoors, that you can participate in, that support the Save Our Stages Act. So I think that the best that you can do right now is work on supporting those efforts, because right now even I don't know what the future holds as far as music. It's actually a very, very hot topic among all of us.
Yeah. And, you know, as we start to kind of wrap up this conversation, I'm looking forward to hearing more of your music, and looking forward to seeing what the power of music can do for our music venues around the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. You know, I grew up playing at Velvet Lounge. I was there at Iota Cafe, right on Wilson, you know, my first big show. Yeah. And all these venues, you know, that are starting to shut down. It's like, we need to somehow maintain the rock and roll attitude. The spirit of the rock and roller must live on. And part of that is just being punk, so punk that it hurts. Just by producing music out of your basement, you know that people will listen to it because they like you. They like you for you. That's what the power of music is.
I agree way to put it. I totally agree.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I mean, I think that my main points here, if we were going to take away anything, is going to be, you know, support your local musicians as, you know, hardcore rock and roll as you can. Be there, you know, with your beer at their, you know, Zoom show. You know, make them feel good, make them supported. And then also, you know, people out there who are struggling with something, you know, whether it's internal, mental health, or whether it's physical, please know that there's always people out there who are going to be there for you. You know, me personally, I have people on my social media who are reaching out to me in my, you know, Instagram DMs, just saying, hey, like, thank you for putting yourself out there because I feel this way. So feel free to reach out to me, and also feel free to reach out to any free resources out there, because there, especially since COVID, there are free therapists online that you can access through the government. So if I had, that's my soapbox. If you're struggling, please reach out to somebody. Don't internalize it, because I guarantee you're going to feel way better once you put it out there and let somebody help you.
Totally agree, Jamie. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, so that might be all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank you just for coming on the show. And, you know, I hope to see you again soon. We have a lot of big things coming from you, is what it sounds like.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, please follow my Instagram, Jamie Kaye Music, and then also Dead Like Disco Band. We need the help.
All right. Well, you guys heard it right here on Alchemicast. We will be following up with probably another episode shortly. Look down in the comments below for some links, and stay tuned. There's a lot of big things coming out to you right here on Alchemicast.